Everyone, welcome back to Yuri's Box. In this video, I'm going to quickly go over the, very recent Trump announcement on tariffs. If you like this kind of content, consider leaving a like. And as usual, nothing in this video is financial advice. So I'm going to try and keep things fairly simple and quick, simply because, the announcement really finished an hour ago. And probably by the time I finish making this video, it's already old news. And we've had, 1,000 different things happening. So to keep things short, really, on a scale of low tariffs, medium, high tariffs, we're definitely on the high tariffs. It definitely is on the worst case scenario. Simply, just take a look at this chart that's been making rounds on X, and you'll probably see this many times in the near future. For example, you have a 34% tariff on China, which is on top of the 20% tariff that is currently in place. So the effective rate is 54%, and a 54% on China is disruptive to say the least. The same thing goes for all of these countries, all right? It was really kind of a bombshell, all right? A lot of people pointing towards perhaps a more benign announcement. Well, surprise, surprise, we got high tariff announcements. And again, this is something I was pointing towards. It's not really... This is exactly what I was talking about. And again, I don't want to pat myself too much on the back, but it's not about the technicals at this point. It's not about, the bull flags and the bear flags and the fibs and the trend lines. If something like this happens, the direction is clear. No matter what the charts are telling you. All right. And, don't listen to me. I mean, look at, for example, the Russell 2000. It's, for example, you don't have to go too far. It was down 2.5%. Now it's down another half. It's down another percent. Things like the QQQ. Now we are putting in a new low. Okay. And again, right here, you could have said, oh, it's a double bottom. It's a sign of or here, we're over the trend line or whatever, I have zero interest for technical analysis at this point of the cycle, given the fact that we have a lot of disruptive things happening. Okay. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. As long as we have tariffs, as long as we have fiscal tightening, and I'll go over what is happening with Musk in tomorrow's video after we get the initial jobless claims. I'll talk about TLT in particular and what I'm expecting for Friday. But again, as long as we have tariffs, as long as we have fiscal tightening, it's not about the technicals. It's about what effect will these policies have on growth. And given the fact that it's likely going to be negative, I mean, expect more of what you've been seeing in the recent past. All right. So again, as far as the tariffs are concerned, it was the worst possible outcome. If I wanted to point out, and I will point out, the silver lining out of all of this is something that I spoke about in my previous videos. Low tariffs. Now, again, this might be me just playing 3D chess, and you tell me in the comments if I'm just being, overly optimistic in the face of some pretty heavy news. Tomorrow will probably be, quite heavy in the markets as well. But to me, low tariffs could easily have been a good outcome in the short term, but a worse outcome in the future. For the simple reason that low tariffs would probably, the reasoning behind low tariffs would have been, I don't want to rock the status quo. I just want to make a buck out of it as well, just like everybody else. All right, so it would actually point towards tariffs being structural, being economic policy for the entirety of the Trump administration. Now, this isn't to say that what we got right here is going to disappear overnight, but the idea of having the medium to high pressure put on tariffs like we saw today is that, yes, it'll cause a lot of pain in the short term, but the objective is to strike deals with the EU, with Canada, with Mexico, and bring tariffs lower. And again, I don't want to sound repetitive. I don't want to be repetitive, but it's going to be a process. Again, just like as I say with the economy and wait for summer. Don't try to front run any recession fears or anything like that. Wait for the economic data. This is akin to that. It's going to be a process, and the simple reason why it's going to be a process is that I don't expect countries to bow down immediately to Trump, for the simple reason that imagine if you were a politician for a minute of, say, the EU. Trump smacks you in the face, and you say, "Oh, you know what? We'll bring down our tariffs." You're going to look like a total wuss in front of the population, all right, in front of the people that elected you. What you're going to do is, act macho and say, "Oh, you know what? These dirty Americans, we'll show them," and there will be some kind of, retaliation. But if I had to guess, and I had to act in an optimistic way, which is usually what pays in the long term in the markets, is that in 6 to 12 months, there'll be, if not even earlier, there'll be a lot of trade negotiation going on, and these tariffs won't stick. This is my expectation for these tariffs here. I'm not feigning the pain in the short term, because as I'm saying, these tariffs will linger for a while. All right. I don't know what that while is. It could be 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks. I have absolutely no idea, because I am expecting some kind of retaliation. But what I see through that is kind of the silver lining in the sky, okay, is that these tariffs, as I said in my previous videos, in my opinion, what they will lead to is more trade deals. Okay, so in the near future, yes, pain is to be expected, but the end result is probably something positive. Now, that doesn't mean that, again, there isn't going to be pain in the markets, and we're currently seeing that. You're seeing Bitcoin, down only 2%. That's, easily could have expected more. We're seeing the Russell 2000 struggle a lot. I just made a video today about credit spreads. I would expect credit spreads to widen significantly more, potentially going over the 3.7%. And TLT, we're seeing right now TLT getting close to that $93 range I was talking about. I spoke about how if Trump comes out, really would come out and say something, push out something ridiculous, something that would be incredibly disruptive. Well, you could easily expect, TLT to knock on the door of $93, which is exactly what we're seeing. And again, not to pat myself too much on the back, but, it's, as I say for everything else, it's not about the technicals at this point. All right, yes, they can give you a clue. Yes, they can kind of hint at things. For example, I could easily have said, this here is an inverse head and shoulders. I could have easily said, oh, this is a bull flag right here, or this is a cup and handle. A lot of things. But at the end of the day, what moved this isn't, me squiggling on a chart, right? It's Trump coming out and announcing something totally, crazy. All right, 54% tariff on China. That's the only way I can define it. It's crazy. So, you know, it's not about the technicals, as I say many times. It's about the data, and it's about how policy is being put in place. And as I said again, as long as you have tariffs, as long as you have fiscal tightening, and I will talk about that tomorrow with the Elon Musk shenanigans that we had today. But as long as you have these two factors, and the yen carry trade continue to linger in the in the background, well, you should expect more of the same, because they're all growth negative. All right, and so don't be surprised if something that is growth negative actually is growth negative. All right, if you see a snake in the forest, it's gonna bite you. I mean, don't be surprised if it bites you. So again, I'll keep things short. I don't want to go into any more details for the simple reason that, again, as I said, by the time I finish this video and say goodbye and remember to leave a like, this could already be old news. So again, tomorrow will be an interesting day, to say the least. I have absolutely no idea how things will play out. With it'll be interesting to see, in my opinion, how other countries react, and I think that will determine the direction of markets. Overall sentiment won't be positive, I would imagine. If I had to put $2 on seeing optimism or pessimism, you're going to see a lot of pessimism, I would guess. But what will really help shift the direction, if there really is going to be any shift in sentiment, is what other leaders are going to say. So I would keep an eye on what the Ursula von der Leyen has to say about tariffs. I would look at China. I would look at Canada and Mexico and see what they say. If they point at retaliation, I expect more of the same. If they point at immediate capitulation, it's mission accomplished. Although, as I said, if you were to ask me, I wouldn't bet on straight up capitulation immediately, because that would just be, and again, it could easily happen. It's just me giving my 2 cents. It would just be a show of weakness, in my opinion. So I would expect some initial retaliation, but in the long term, trade deals are gonna get cut. Countries are gonna come to terms, and these tariffs will not stick in the long term. But again, I could easily be wrong, and it actually is Armageddon. But we'll see. I'll leave it at that. If you like this kind of content, consider leaving a like, and I'll see you next time. Bye.